Hi everybody, it's Rabbi Slomovitz. As you know, last Shabbat we were Zoom bombed right before we were going to do the Torah reading and hear my sermon. Marty Gilbert did wonderful things to reestablish the service, but we lost a little bit of time. And I was asked to give my sermon again because it links directly to the 40-day campaign to feed hungry children currently underway at the shul. So let me give you a truncated version of that sermon, please. I was recently speaking to a clergy friend of mine, and he happened to be a Christian clergy, and I said, how did you get in your current position at the church? He said, God called me. And he meant that sort of in a direct way, that God told him, go here. And he asked me if rabbis had a similar process of being called by God. And I said, no and yes. And he said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, in our tradition, the rabbis said that there are no more priests, there are no more prophets, there are no more kings of Israel, because they didn't want somebody to come in one morning and say, oh, I had a vision, God spoke to me, and negate part of our faith. So what the rabbis wanted was uniformity, conformity, and certainty about Jewish rituals. So, for example, we have mitzvot. That's how we connect with God. We do commandments. So that was part of my no answer to him about being called by God. But I think there is also a yes as well that sometimes we don't focus about. We can be called by God with a small c, if you will, or inspired to take certain actions. And so we read from the Torah last Shabbat from Exodus chapter 22. You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not ill-treat any widow or orphan, and on and on and on. So there are specific verses about taking care of the less fortunate. Then also, last Shabbat was a Rosh Chodesh, so Shekalim, which means that Passover is coming. And when I was thinking of Passover, I thought about the Seder and the Haggadah, and at the beginning of the Seder we say the following: all who are hungry, let them come and eat. All who are needy, let them come and celebrate the Passover with us. And those are powerful words, but I don't know how often we can really relate to either care for the orphans and the less fortunate, and how do we actualize all who are hungry come and eat. Passover for us is mostly about what we can eat and what we can't. But are we able to answer the call to feed the hungry and the needy? And so this got me thinking that we really need to do something. And I must tell you that a few months ago, I was watching the news like everyone else and just following general society and seeing lines across the country of hundreds of cars, and knowing that reports are coming in daily almost that because of COVID, children are going to bed hungry. So I spoke to Rabbi Drash and I said, I just have this feeling I want to do something. He said, okay, think about it, work on it, and come back with some recommendations. So I contacted Must Ministries. As you know, Must has been in the community for over 50 years. And they have a person involved with projects like this. And the lady I spoke with said, we have hungry children because of COVID. They used to get their main meal at school. But a lot of them are not coming to school because of COVID, or their parents are out of work, whatever, and they're home. So we're trying to deliver these meals that they used to get at school at home, and we could really use some help. So initially I thought of, well, let's do a food drive like we do for Project Isaiah. And the lady from us said, that's very wonderful if you'd like to do that, but when we get financial donations, we can maximize that money far more than you would by collecting cans, which logistically would be much more difficult. I said, what do you mean? She said, if you make a donation of $36, we can feed between 25 and 30 children their main meal for the day. That's overwhelming to me because I, as an individual, cannot get that amount of good out of that amount of money. And so I came back with that information to Rabbi Drash, and we ran it by the various officers at the shul. and we decided we would do this. Today actually is, I'm not quite following the calendar, but I think we're 40 days out. So we initiated a 40-day campaign leading up to Passover. And the gist of it all is that this gives us an opportunity to actually follow the Torah when it tells us to take care of people who are less fortunate than we are. It gives us an opportunity to push back against COVID. COVID is, we don't have to say anything about it. Horrible, horrible, horrible virus. And it's been hard for us to know what to do. And then finally, when we sit down at the Seder and we literally read, all who are hungry, come and eat. Taking care of the poor, the hungry, and we have no way of actualizing. Well, this is an opportunity for us to do that. Imagine how it's going to feel when we sit at the beginning of the Seder and say, all who are hungry, come and eat. And we can say with pride, well, you know, in our modest way, we did that. And so I asked everybody, and I too am going to do this, I'm going to answer the call to take care of those less fortunate in our community, pushing back against COVID, doing something really good as Passover comes and springtime comes. We've already had, in the last few days, people giving $36, $72, $180, whatever you can. Please know that that money is going directly from Eitz Chaim to Must to children. That's all. That's all it's limited to, feeding children. Remember, this is their main meal of the day. So it's not like breakfast, it's not lunch, it's their main meal. So I ended by saying that the Torah portion ended with Moses up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And look what he accomplished. Moses answered God's call and came down with the Ten Commandments. So it's our turn in our modest way to answer the call of the Torah in our tradition to take care of those who need to be taken care of. So I hope you can join me in our 40-day campaign. Today is day 40, I believe. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.